Hey everyone, I hope you're all doing really well. Today we're going to be wrapping up my Pan Those Eyeshadows project pan for 2022. I just feel like it's time. To be honest, I just feel like it's time to wrap up this project for this year specifically. It will be coming back in 2023 because I adore this project pan. If you're not familiar with Pan Those Eyeshadows, it's a project pan that was started by my friend Alexi, and everyone kind of does it in their own way. Personally, I have all of my eyeshadows in a spreadsheet, and then I randomize my focus eyeshadows entirely. I do have one that I hand pick. I have a minimum usage goal of 15, but the ultimate goal with all of my focus eyeshadows in this project is to try to hit pan on as many eyeshadows as I can from my collection. And I've actually been focusing on this project pan for the majority of 4 full years now. I've been doing this in some capacity since 2019, all different rounds, all different kind of series in this project. But yeah, I've been working on this project for pretty much the entirety of the last 4 years, but that goes to show how much I love it. I find so much inspiration and so much enjoyment out of using my eyeshadows through this project pan. It really keeps me from feeling compelled to purchase new eyeshadows because it gives me a lot of insight into how far an eyeshadow can go in terms of how long it takes to hit pan, how much eyeshadow there really is in a small little pan, and ways to multi-purpose my eyeshadows, to pair my eyeshadow palettes. It really is a great project pan for me. It really has been so much fun. But I am ready to just kind of take a little bit of a step back for the next couple months, play with my eyeshadow palettes in a little bit more of a natural way, see what I gravitate towards, to kind of just get to refamiliarize myself with my collection in a different kind of capacity, I guess. I do really feel like I have an actually very exciting update for you today. I am looking forward to sharing with you all the progress that I have made over the past month and how we're going to be wrapping up this project. In addition, I am going to be sharing with you some stats at the end of the video, so please keep tuned for that. We're going to talk about my pan percentage, and we're going to talk about how many pans I've hit collectively through this specific series since I started it in January of this year. But nevertheless, let's just hop right on into it and talk about this last month's color story. This is a stunning, very ethereal, soft and feminine color palette. I adore all of the focus shades that I've had in this past month. It has been so fun to reach for every single one of these eyeshadows in different ways, pairing them together, playing with them from just the specific palette that they come from. It has been so much fun. I've really enjoyed reaching for all of these. I love this very sparkly, very just soft and just effortless kind of vibe that each one of these individual eyeshadows gives me. And I love the way that they have paired together as well. So hopping right on into the focus shades, the top one here is one that I've had in the project for several months. It comes from my Nabla Soul Blooming palette, this beauty right here, which is very unfortunately discontinued. The shade that I've been focusing on is that kind of hot coral shade. It's like a pinky red coral tone, really beautiful matte color, really great for the crease, all over the lid. Today I am wearing it as a blush. And the shade is called Bolero. I don't know if I've said that yet. I've had this in the project for many a month. Before this update, I had used it 33 times already and I had not yet hit pan. But this past month, I have reached for it 12 additional times, bringing me to 45 uses collectively. And today is that 45th use, both on the cheeks and in the crease of my eyes. And here is what it's looking like today. There is the shade Bolero right there. And as you can see, I have hit pan on it. I did actually hit pan on it after 45 uses through this project pan. Today was just like a bonus use. I wanted to just use everything all together. So 44 uses to pan, 45 collective uses in this project, which is a very substantial number for me personally. I never really get into the 30s and 40s for the vast majority of my focus eyeshadows, but this was one that I really wanted to work towards hitting pan on because I've had this eyeshadow palette for a very long time, and I just love to see this palette looking loved. It is such a beautiful looking palette, and it's nice to see another little pan right there. And of course, in the coming years, I'd love to see more pans happen in the remaining shades, but really happy to have been focusing on it this year. I actually was able to hit pan on the shade Philosophy during the time that I was focusing on this palette as well, and I'm going to be reaching for this a heck of a lot over the holiday season. I think that I have a newfound love for this palette and newfound kind of understanding of how to use this palette through the kind of fall and winter time, that it doesn't have to be a spring focused palette as I've always kind of looked at it as. This beautiful kind of navy, almost blurple shade would just be perfect for the holidays. And then all of these neutrals are really perfect for year round. Moving right along into this stunner right here, this gorgeous golden green kind of metallic shade. It comes from my UOMA Beauty Black Magic Allure palette. This is a palette that I absolutely adore as well. I'm so happy that I have been focusing on this specific eyeshadow for a handful of months now. This shadow is a kind of textured glitter where you can actually see multiple different tones, you can see multiple different sizes of glitter, and it just offers this very editorial and effortless kind of look all in one on the lids. Previous to today's update, I had used it 11 times in this project. I've now reached for it 5 additional times. Today is the 5th use. I have it on in my inner corner today, just for a little pop of something gold to kind of contrast all of the kind of cooler, well, actually it's a combination. It's very much a combination of warm and cool happening on my lids, but I just kind of felt like it brought a lot of attention to the inner corner and really brought a lot of light to my eyes. But yeah, 16 total uses in this project so far. Well, at this point, altogether, 16 total uses. And here is Allure right here. This is the shade that I have been focusing on, and oh my gosh, I think I am so freaking close to hitting pan on it. I have not yet, but the dip is real. It's very, very concave. I have been using this kind of all over my lid most often, so I really swirl my finger in there, usually on my ring finger or my middle finger, and I kind of swirl the entirety of the pan. But I have been able to create quite a valley in there, and it is most definitely getting very, very close to pan. In comparison to the eyeshadows that do have pan already in them, this one shade called Lush and then this one called Lady of Gold, it does seem like it's not quite as deep as those, but it's close. And even though this project is wrapping up, I actually think I'm going to continue to kind of try to hit pan on this specific eyeshadow because I am so close on it. And this palette is just absolutely perfect for the fall time. It's perfect leading into the holiday season as well. So going into 2023, I may end up actually hitting pan on Allure without this project pan as a focus. And that's something that I think I'd like to try to achieve because it is so dang close. But 16 uses through this project, I have fallen in love, like head over heels for this eyeshadow. We know I love my greens, we know I love my golds, so it was meant to be, and it's been an absolute treat. Next up, let's talk about that icy purple kind of shade right there. It's like a soft lavender kind of satin finish. This eyeshadow I had hardly used, even though I had it in my collection for so long. So I'm actually very grateful that I rolled it into this project in order to kind of better get to know the formula and to spend some time with it and to figure out ways to wear it. We know I'm not the most drawn to purple, even though it seems I do have quite a lot in my collection. I don't tend to gravitate to purples on my own that naturally, so I was happy to have this in this project to use. This shade is a pressed powder shadow from Colourpop, so it's a single. It's in the shade Prowlin. Previously, I'd used it 6 times in this project pan. I've now used it 8 times since my last update. Today is the 8th use, and I have it over the entirety of my lid. I do have that blue shade kind of on top of it, but I did use it kind of as a base to make that blue feel a little bit more on the purple spectrum. And it is on the inner kind of portion of my lid and on the outer portion of my lid without the blue on top of it, just to create a little bit of dimension, a little bit of interest. But so altogether, I've used it 14 times in this project so far. And like I said, I hadn't really used it that much previously, but now it is looking much more evidently used, and I'm happy to see that. So there is definitely a dent in there. There's apparent usage most definitely, but nowhere near pan. I was not anticipating that I would be anywhere near pan on this. I imagine it'll take me something like 40 or more uses to actually hit pan on it, considering most often I don't wear it over the lid like I am wearing it today. Most often I just kind of wear it on the inner corner, maybe on the inner portion of my lid, but the quantity that I use is so small, and it just had no wear previously. But it's nice that I was able to focus on it in this project pan, bring it to the forefront, better get to know it, and see some evident usage happen on it. So I'm very happy with that. I really didn't think that I was gonna hit pan on it in 2022, whether I kept this project going right through to the end of the year or not. So that is all right with me. Moving on into this kind of smoky base purple here. It's kind of like a reddish purple shade, fuchsia kind of purple. This is one that is also very dimensional. It has a multitude of different glitter tones running through it, from green to pink to purple to gold, but truly it translates as this like smoky magenta almost kind of shade. It's such a interesting dimensional color. And it comes from my Fenty Beauty Galaxy palette, one that was limited edition way back when. I think I got this palette in 2018, 2017 perhaps. I can't really show this palette too much because it's ultra reflective, but that shade is called Ultraviolet. Previously, I've used it 7 times in this project. I have now used it an additional 7 times since I last updated this project pan, bringing me to 14 total uses on this specific eyeshadow. And here is what it is looking like today after 14 collective uses. That is it right there. And it has humongo pan, like lots and lots and lots of pan, which feels really good. And that's because, as I said in my last update, I ended up actually using it as a nail polish. I wore it over a black base and I loved it. It looked so beautiful. Really just the glitter kind of translated on top of the black because this base is so smoky. It just became a glittery black nail polish, which was beautiful. And then on my 13th use of this eyeshadow, so the 6th time I use it this past month or so, I put it over a light purple base and it was disgusting. It was horrendous. I took it off immediately. I will share a picture of what that looked like too. It was like a streaky, just disastrous mess. So definitely better with a deeper base, but I hit pan on it by using it in that second manicure. And if you're not familiar with how to use eyeshadow as nail polish, it's ridiculously simple, but I do have a video on my channel and I will link that down in the description box for you to check out if you are at all interested. It's hella easy and it's a really good way to use more of your eyeshadows and to expand your nail polish collection as well. Today, how I've integrated into the look is just as a very smoky kind of liner situation on the outer portion of my lid. Very small amount of it, but I do think that it adds a little bit of depth to this look that I think it needed because everything else is very light. But yeah, super happy to see another pan in this eyeshadow palette. This is hella old, like I said. It's honestly something that I'm considering decluttering after using it through this project for several months. It's kind of something that's on the chopping block, if I'm honest. And on that note, I have been kind of interested in doing maybe a chopping block kind of series because there are a couple other products from my collection that I think I'm almost ready to declutter, but I'm not quite ready to part with. So let me know if you're interested in seeing that. But yeah, in any case, let's move along. Let's move on into this beautiful warm tone brown shade right here. This is one that I actually selected for myself to bring into this project pan. I really wanted to have something that was super easy for every single day use, something that I could just reach into all day, every day with pretty much any kind of look. And this shade is definitely that for me. It is a matte warm tone, mid-tone brown as well. And it comes from my Urban Decay Born to Run palette. The shade is called Riff. And although I knew it was gonna be a challenge on this, I still just wanted to have it as kind of a staple eyeshadow. And I think it really grounds this color story very well. This shade I had used 11 times previous to today's update. I've now reached for it actually 11 additional times, bringing me to 22 uses through the project pan. And here is what Riff is looking like today. That is it right there. No pan yet, but I am actually sort of close. I wouldn't say I'm super close, but it's definitely getting there. These are quite deep pans and this is a very firmly pressed matte shadow, so you really don't need very much. In order to integrate it into today's look, I do have it on my lower lash line. I did put a little bit of Bolero kind of on top of it so that it didn't feel too drastically different. I'm also wearing it as a bronzer today. I've only worn it as a bronzer, I think 3 times since I've been focusing on this eyeshadow. So the majority of the time I was wearing it on my eyes. I wasn't using it as a bronzer, but just for the heck of it, seeing as we're wrapping up this project today, I just thought, why not? Just go all out and use these eyeshadows to the fullest. Riff is one that I knew was going to be a challenge for me, but it has been such a integral part of my looks over the last 2 months, and I've really enjoyed using this as kind of a focus shade in the fall season. This color is just absolutely perfect, and it pairs so well with the blue shade perfectly, and same with that golden kind of shade. It pairs so well with some of the other shades that I've been focusing on. So I do feel like it was a really good decision to bring this into the project, even though it did prove to be quite challenging. It still was great. And last but certainly not least at all is this shade that I rolled in my last update. This is from my ZC and the British Museum Alice in Wonderland palette. This cute little palette right here. Look how cute this is. I just rolled it in my last update, so I was not expecting to make any sort of substantial progress, but I was really looking forward to using this shade. As you can see, it is this super glittery, minty, soft blue kind of color, and it is such a fun kind of shade. Not one that I think I would naturally pick for at this time of year, but one that I have really come to embrace for sure through these past few weeks since I rolled into the project. In fact, I've worn it 9 times, which I feel like is a lot for kind of like a blue sort of shade, but this is a very wearable blue shade. I'm wearing it on the very center of my lids today, kind of as a soft halo. I kind of pulled it up into the crease as well to make everything look very diffused. And I love the texture that this gives. I love the bounce back of the light that it creates. It's very soft and very wearable, but still impactful. And through my 9 uses, I have made quite a bit of a disturbance or whatever you want to call it in this pan here. It's obviously been used, is what I'm trying to say. That is it right there. I had hardly used it though before. I think I had swatched it once and worn it once, so there was no apparent usage on it previously. And so it feels really good to see that more evident usage now. Definitely feels really good. This eyeshadow has a very creamy, soft, almost moussey consistency, comparable to the Colourpop Super Shock shadows, but I'd say even a little bit more moist. And so that's why it looks so chaotic in there. That's why it's like so used looking, because it just kind of meshes in, like when I use my finger, which is most often how I've applied it, is I use my finger to kind of put it on the center of my lid or onto my inner corners, because I feel like I can pick up the glitter most effectively that way. So I've kind of just mashed the eyeshadow through the pan, but yeah, it's been something that I've really enjoyed. I have not used this palette to its fullest capacity at all, even though I've had this for almost like a 1.5 years at this point. I just haven't. So it's good to better get to know this eyeshadow palette a little bit more, play with some of the shades. Like I said, haven't used it to its fullest capacity even after having it in the project for a month, but I'm happy that this got used this year, because it may have been completely unused by me if I didn't roll it into this project. And that's what kind of made me think I should start using my eyeshadows in a different capacity, maybe just for the next couple months, because I do have eyeshadow palettes that I've hardly used this year because they never got rolled into this project, so they've just kind of lived in my drawer, and I want to remedy that in the coming months. But overall, I did actually end up hitting 2 new pans this month, which is amazing. Collectively in this project pan, I hit pan on 16 eyeshadows for my collection, which is just like mind-boggling, but I've hit 16 new eyeshadow pans in 2022 through this project alone as focus eyeshadows. I did hit pan on some other eyeshadows in this year as well, but that's a lot, right? That's kind of a lot for like 10 months. I also hit my usage goal, my minimum threshold of 15 uses on 2 additional eyeshadows that I decided to roll out once I hit that number. So I was able to hit my goal collectively on 18 different eyeshadows from my collection in this project pan, which is just so exciting for me. I think that is great. But I've been so hyper focused on my Pan Those eyeshadows, and that is why I've not really been working on other eyeshadows in my other project pan, because this is where I focus on eyeshadows and I really hyper focus on eyeshadows. So I'm excited to kind of take a little bit of a break. And that being said, let's chat about my pan percentage. I have a grand total of 320 eyeshadows in my collection. I recently brought in, I think it ends up being 16 new eyeshadows through Colourpop PR. So I have a total of 320 eyeshadows now. I have 72 pans in my collection with pan in them though. And I have 248 eyeshadows that don't have pan on them. So that brings me to the total of 320 eyeshadows. And so having pan on 72 out of those 320 eyeshadows means that I have a pan percentage of 22.5%. Almost a quarter of my eyeshadow collection has pan on it. But as I said, I've been working on this project for the majority of 4 years now, and my eyeshadow purchasing has just dwindled and dwindled and dwindled through those last 4 years. This year, I've only brought in 2 eyeshadow palettes and 1 single eyeshadow to my collection as a whole. But in the years past, I did definitely acquire quite a lot of eyeshadow. I was bringing in eyeshadow palettes very regularly, and so it's nice to finally see, even though it's been absolutely years that I've had some of these in my collection, it is nice to see that my eyeshadows are being used and I am hitting pan on them, and I'm getting to know these palettes in a way that I didn't before, and I wouldn't have been able to either if I was still bringing in new. So this project has been highly successful for me. It is one that I absolutely adore. I'm so happy to be wrapping it up, however, even though it is a very special project for me. With all that being said, that is a wrap on Pan Those Eyeshadows 2022. I hope that you enjoyed today's finale and today's kind of synopsis of all of my focus eyeshadows. If you've been keeping up with this project pan through the majority of this year, I just want to say a huge thank you for watching it. And if you want to kind of see what a year of panning eyeshadow, or the majority of the year of panning eyeshadow, looked like for me, there is a playlist for this project pan which will be linked in the end card, so you can check that out in just a moment. But that is everything. Thank you so much for watching and for being here. I really do appreciate every single one of you for taking some time to just hang out with me today. But that's everything. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much for hanging out with me, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye everyone.